All right, welcome everybody to episode 32 of the Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. I'm Patrick Neal. Grayson Mann is on the other end of this video call. Hopefully we aren't bringing back too many bad memories of, virtual online school, but we are doing a virtual episode today. Unfortunately, our producer Zach has gotten the old COVID-19. He's doing good. He's well enough to be able to produce this, but he's still in quarantine. So Grayson, I had to make my bed, to at least make my background a little bit presentable. But how you doing?
Hey, it looks great, man. I'm doing good.
I
I'm
appreciate
ready.
it.
I'm still trying to recover from Sunday and then last night, which was just like, what the heck? I don't know how to describe it, man. There's just so much that happened, so much that took place. You had ties, you had missed kicks, you had mistakes, but you also had just what reminds you whenever you've 7 months of this like drought, and then you get it all rushing back within one day. So it's kind of an overload. So you have to really take it all in. So Patrick, where do you want to start? There's a lot to talk
Dude,
about in
I
a short
don't even
time.
know. Like you were saying, especially those 1 o'clock games, it was like, whew, I believe 6 out of the 9 games were within one score. So, it was just red zone flipping back and forth the whole time. And I didn't know what to pay attention to. And it was absolutely nuts. I really don't know where to start.
Let's start with last night then. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Broncos
let's do
country.
that. Let's do that.
As I found on Twitter, Broncos country. Let's hide. Russell
Yes, I
Wilson
saw
and the
that as
Seattle
well.
Seahawks their little reunion did not go so well. They started with booze, and Geno Smith. I want to read you this quote that I found from his interview. It said,
I think I know what you're
"They wrote
talking
me
about.
off, but I didn't write them back." And that
Mhm.
was just like that's fire. That's so
That
cool of
is
him. Yeah,
that is a cool line.
that is what a
Absolutely
quote.
elite line.
So happy for that man. But let's walk through that final decision with Nathaniel Hackett. You first off, I think they had about 50 seconds left. They're on the 45 yard line, and they waste 30 seconds. I don't know if you saw Peyton Manning literally
Yeah,
doing like,
I was
it's like,
about to
what are they
say that
doing?
too. I
But
don't
what do
know
you
what
if
Hackett
you're
is thinking there.
I don't know. I feel like if you sign Russell Wilson to a $250 million deal, all guaranteed, by the way, I feel like you at least, if he doesn't get it, he doesn't get it, but give him a shot. What were your thoughts going into that final thing? I thought it was poor, poor 2-minute execution.
Yeah, it was not great in Nathaniel Hackett's coaching debut, or at least head coaching debut. Yeah, I mean, you got to put the ball in your playmaker's hands there. Brandon McManus, he was close, but couldn't get it. And like, I don't know what you're thinking there if you're Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, you had so much time left on the clock. You need 5 yards, and you're pretty much golden because I mean, the field goal, to be fair, had the distance. It just was a little bit to the right, but I think if you get that fourth down conversion, you're in a really good position. Maybe even score a touchdown, and they didn't even need it. But it's just really, really tough. I mean, the Broncos just had some struggles. I mean, they had 2 fumbles on the 1 yard line. They had to settle for a field goal from the 8 yard line in the second half. All 3 of those trips, probably should have resulted in touchdowns. So the Broncos had some early some week 1 struggles. We'll say that.
Yeah, they certainly had opportunities and definitely didn't make the most of them. So we'll see how that progresses. But in an AFC West division that's so tightly knit together, they're all going to be attached to the hip throughout the season. They need every single game. They could be 9-8 or they could be 10-7 and be missing out on the playoffs. And we're looking back, so going, hey, that 30 seconds right there was the most important 30 seconds of the entire season. We just didn't know it yet. So there's a lot. We'll have hindsight in about 3 to 4 months, but right now it just isn't their best start. But they certainly can rebound.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, the AFC is so deep. Like there's a solid probably 10 to 12 teams that maybe deserve a playoff spot. And when you're losing games like that, early in the season to teams, Seattle, albeit had a great game, probably aren't going to be challenging for much this season, except for maybe the number one overall pick. You gotta capitalize on those opportunities, and they did not do that last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a bad showing from especially Nathaniel Hackett. I'm sure he is probably not having the best Monday morning back after the weekend.
Not a fun day in the office going 0-1 in your debut, but let's Patrick, let's quickly shift to your Bengals, man. What as a
Yeah,
Bengals
yeah.
fan, let's get your perspective. Let's just get it all out. Just rip off the Band-Aid. It was
Look,
a wild
from
game.
from one bad coaching performance to another, Bengals should have won this game 5 different times. Should have lost this game 5 different times. Yeah, Zach Taylor, what are you doing? I mean, there was that one touchdown that Jamar Chase had that he didn't challenge. The ref was, I don't know what the ref was looking at. He was standing right there as Jamar Chase ran by him. Ball clearly crossed the end zone. You go ahead and try and run a quick play after that. You end up not getting a touchdown out of it. There's, Clark Harris, the long snapper, somehow gets hurt. So now you're playing a tight end at long snapper. You can't blame him much for that. I'm sure Wilcox, who was the one snapping the ball, probably did not have too much time, too much practice long snapping. But you get a missed field goal, you get a blocked extra point. You have Joe Burrow, who throws 4 picks and fumbles once. You have, just not a great coaching performance from Zach Taylor. He's still running the ball on 1st and 10 and 2nd and 10 all the time, which I hate to see. You get T. Higgins out with a concussion. You get all this stuff. And, the Bengals still almost win the game. So it's kind of a bright, a silver lining sort of thing, because all that went wrong and they still almost beat the Steelers, who are a division rival. But it was just not the best return game for the Bengals. Yeah, it was a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I feel like the Steelers are looking at that and they're probably going to they're watching the film this week going, probably should have lost that game. And it came at a cost because they lost TJ Watt to the pec injury, which should sideline him for at least 6 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. They're
saying
so.
He does not need surgery. So
it could be shorter.
So that might be good for him, but
might be good. But the Bengals,
yeah, you lost him. You lost.
I think you could look at it so many different ways, but if we're going to choose to look at it the positive way, is just saying, hey, this is a really good Steelers team, and we played about as bad as you can and have so many things go wrong and only lose only in overtime, or you're a missed extra point away from winning the game and not have to worry about that. So they almost survived disaster, but it just isn't the way how it went. So I wouldn't be too worried if you're a Cincy fan. There's other teams that are in much worse spots right now than I guess the Bengals are.
Yeah, I would say this is. Of course, you don't want to see a game like this happen, but the Bengals beat themselves. That's ultimately what happened. Like you said, TJ Watt's going to be out for a little while. Najee Harris might be out for a little while. Might hurt my fantasy team a little bit, but yeah, I'm not sure what to think of the Steelers. I think Steelers defense looked fantastic. Minka Fitzpatrick looked fantastic, but their offense might struggle a little bit, dude. I don't know how much of an improvement Mitch Trubisky is over Ben Roethlisberger, and we might see Kenny Pickett sooner rather than later.
We might. He's certainly creeping on the door. He had a strong preseason. There was something that you mentioned, a bad fantasy round. I don't know if you saw that guy's team that scored only a measly 30 points because everything for his team went wrong. That was quite the fun story. He had like Prescott.
I didn't see that one.
Kyle Pitts. He had the Packers defense. He had, I think, the Jets kicker. It was just a bad. I think it's at like 100,000 likes on Twitter. It's pretty crazy. And he's from South Carolina. So it's kind of a cool in-house.
That's tough.
In-house thing. But let's, Patrick, we're going to go from one Band-Aid being ripped off to another with
let's talk about the Patriots.
It's what I call hot and humid hell for Miami. It's just it's terrible, man. I went in there with the Patriots always do this thing in September. Belichick has this thing where he's like, I'm just going to kind of feel it out. And when usually with Tom Brady, it didn't really matter because they would just be fine in the roster that they had. Now you can't really do that. They can't really afford to go, we're going to feel it out again, go 1-3 and see what happens. They on the first drive, we're moving the ball down the field pretty well. And for some reason, Mac Jones thought, I'm going to test Xavier Howard on a fade ball. And it gets picked. Not my first choice. But what I saw from New England, Patrick, just to quickly summate it, I thought the defense held their own except for one chunk play. It was almost like a pleasant surprise in certain aspects. I didn't think Miami would. The defense kept New England in the game. If the offense had gotten it together, I think we would have had a shot on Sunday. But there was too many scheme things with the offense, and it's very much the Patricia-isms. Defenders getting left unchecked and Mac Jones getting clobbered. It is not certainly what I would consider ideal for the first game of offense, only 7 points.
Yeah, I mean, I was flipping around and didn't catch too much of this game, unfortunately, because there were so many close ones. But, I mean, the box score looks like it's kind of the same thing from preseason, if that's a correct assumption. Hopefully you don't hear the train.
I thought I heard something, but it's all good.
Okay. Hopefully
it is what
that wasn't too bad.
But it is the situation that we are in right now, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But am I correct with that? It was basically preseason 2.0.
It just looked like they were
how the Dolphins look.
The Dolphins pretty much were telling New England exactly what they were doing. They're like, hey, we're going to give it to Tyreek Hill on every single play possible. And Tua had his occasional Tua-isms where he would just miss him completely or underthrow him. The offense looked fine. I can't tell if that's just them trying to figure it out or New England's defense is better than people thought. The secondary didn't get completely toasted. So there's a lot of – it's just those sloppy games in Miami. It's just tough to play there. But I if they dropped 0-2 against Pittsburgh and have another 7-point performance, I'm going to be a little worried, man. It's going to get a little worrisome here in my little headspace.
Hey, man. My prediction that, the Patriots finished last in the division, maybe it isn't so crazy.
I don't like that.
I mean, I guess the Jets didn't do too great as well, but where else do we want to go around the league? How about
I want to clap it up for Kieran.
South.
I want to clap it up for Kieran.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the Giants. Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Don't give him the confidence. Actually, don't give him the confidence.
I mean, it wasn't Daniel Jones that won that. That was all Saquon and Randy Bullock missing a field goal.
Yeah, that was all Saquon. Daniel Jones, still not great. But Saquon looked amazing. He had all that speed back in him. He had explosive play after explosive play. He looked fantastic. I mean, like the receivers did not do very much. You had Kadarius Toney play like 7 snaps. You had Wando Robinson get hurt. I don't know how much Kenny Golladay did.
Probably not much.
But he single-handedly carried that team to a win. And the defense played well as well. But Saquon Barkley is like the big winner out of week 1.
So's my fantasy team.
For sure.
So is my fantasy team.
Exactly.
Everyone was telling me that I was taking a big risk taking him, and I was like, you know what? I just got a feeling this year that he's going to do something with it, and he did. So I'm very happy about that. I was the top performer in my league for the week, so we'll see how long that lasts. But I do have a question for you, Patrick. I don't want to overreact too much to the week 1 because week 1 can also be the biggest liar in the NFL. We had last year the Packers get smoked and Aaron Rodgers ended up winning MVP. We've had New England several times look sloppy week 1 and win the Super Bowl in the same year. We've had Cincinnati. I don't know what they did in their opener last year, but it probably was nothing compared to the Super Bowl product we saw in February of last year. So there's a lot of different things that can take place, a lot of different things that can happen. But let's say Tennessee drops a couple more of these games that they should win. Could we see Malik Willis?
I think it's fairly possible that we could see him. I mean, Ryan Tannehill's on the last year of his contract. I don't know if Mike Vrabel's going to want to re-sign him after this. I'm sure he's going to demand a large amount of money, especially with some of the current QB contracts that are going around. So, maybe that's the plan, is for him to end up starting by the end of the season. Um, yeah, I mean, it, that, yeah, that's kind of where I stand, I think.
Yeah, I like to. I think that